So in this particular reaction video, we're going to cover a Thomas Sowell clip. It's going to involve Michelle Obama and some things that she said that really made him mad. So let's take a look at this. I'm looking forward to getting into this. Before we do, please like and subscribe and share with your friends. Let's get into this.
Tom, let's apply common sense to one of the festivals of democracy, the Democratic National Convention. First Lady Michelle Obama. She begins by describing her father and Barack Obama's grandmother as decent people, hardworking people who sacrificed for her families. And then she says this.
So when it comes to rebuilding our economy, Barack is thinking about folks like my dad and like his grandmother. He's thinking about the pride that comes from a hard day's work. That's why he signed the Lilly-led Better Fair Pay Act, to help women get equal pay for equal work.
They don't believe in hard work anymore. That's for sure.
That's why he cut taxes for working families and small businesses and fought to get the auto industry back on its feet.
Look at Thomas Sowell's face.
That's how he brought our economy from the brink of collapse to creating jobs again. Jobs you can raise a family on. Good jobs right here in the United States of America.
President Obama is giving us, quote, jobs you can raise a family on. Tom?
I am really looking forward to this particular response to this clip here because, I mean, obviously that's something that is going to be a topic of contention with Mr. Sowell. Check this out.
President Obama is giving us, quote, jobs you can raise a family on. Tom?
You know, it's like someone once said, it's like being a mosquito at a nudist colony. You don't know where to start. I mean, we're not going to be in the air long enough for me to dissect all the falsehoods that this woman has put into those few words.
Give us one.
Oh, okay, the jobs that you can raise a family on. The new jobs that are being created are disproportionately very low-income jobs. So I don't know how you're going to be raising a family on minimum wage type jobs or flipping hamburgers at McDonald's.
See, that's maybe the thing that he may be missing here in terms of the kind of jobs they want you to be dealing with are the jobs that you have to be dependent on the government to actually do. So if you're flipping burgers or sweeping bathrooms, then guess what? You're going to have to rely on the government to sustain you and your family. Or if you're a black woman with kids by yourself because they don't want the father to be in the home with you. So again, government dependency. Let's see what he says about that if he brings that up. But that would be my first inkling and my first response or my first reaction to hearing something like that.
The other thing is that what is implicit in all of this is that the economy has no recuperative powers of its own, that all the benefits, all whatever recovery there have been, has been due to Barack Obama.
It's like the scene of Genesis where he's breathing life into the clay of the economy.
That's it. Now, anyone who studied history knows that for the first 150 years of this country, the federal government did not intervene when the economy turned down. And all that time, the downturns all corrected themselves. One of the most classic examples was under Warren G. Harding. When his first year in office, he found the unemployment rate at 11.7%. He did absolutely nothing. And he did not spend more government money. He cut back government spending. The Federal Reserve had the interest rates up at 6 or 7%, not down at 1% where they are now. The next year, unemployment was at 6.7%. The year after that, it was 2.4%. So the economy has recuperative powers. I mean, employers have an incentive to hire people. Workers have an incentive to get jobs. Lenders have.
That's an interesting thought there that, look, you know, you hear the thing that capitalism, let the market play itself out or let the market correct itself or let the market do its thing. And you hear from the left, especially when you're dealing with Keynesian people, where they talk about, well, no, that's not true because, you know, big buddy and you have, you know, the situation with corporate cronyism and that sort of thing prevents that and human nature and all these different metrics that they want to bring up. But at the end of the day, he's exactly right that eventually it will correct itself because as you have more goods and services, you're going to have that particular price go down because there's more people that can do it and there's more supply. But when that supply goes away, there's scarcity, and there's going to be a greater increase in the cost of that good because of its scarcity, its rarity, and the fact that it's harder to find someone to actually do the work. That is basic economics. And whatever you have there, whether the inflation be up or down, it will correct itself based on those two fundamental principles, supply and demand. And I don't understand how Keynesian people can come up with anything different than that, regardless of what kind of outside metrics you want to put in there in terms of human tendency or cronyism, whatever. Even that's going to be scaled back to a certain extent. So anyway, that's my thought.
Senators to lend.
Is it your
they don't need somebody in Washington trying to micromanage all of this.
Your argument is not only weak form of the argument. We don't need Barack Obama to breathe life into the economy because it'll recover on its own sooner or later.
If Barack Obama stays out of the way.
That's what I'm saying. The strong form of the argument is Barack Obama's actually been holding it down.
No question. I mean, there's never been a recovery other than that of the Great Depression of the 1930s that took so long. Under Ronald Reagan, in the early years got up to 9.7% annual unemployment. He did absolutely nothing. The media went crazy. The unemployment came down, and it kept right on coming down.
Right. All right. So, common sense, use your head. One common sense question is, what went wrong? How did we get into this mess in the first place? And Bill Clinton, once again at the Democratic National Convention, explained the answer.
Yes.
In Tampa, the Republican argument against the president re-election was actually pretty simple, pretty snappy. It went something like this. We left him a total mess. He hadn't cleaned it up fast enough, so fire him and put us back in.
The Republicans created the mess.
This shows that Clinton is truly a masterful politician. And to be a masterful politician, you have to have a lot of brass. And it takes an incredible amount of brass for Bill Clinton, who was the biggest factor in creating the housing boom that led to the bust that brought down the whole economy.
Right.
It was during the Clinton administration that the federal government forced lenders to change their lending standards, which had been in place for decades and had made real estate one of the safest investments around. Bring those standards down in order that they can get the numbers that they want for low income, minority, et cetera, mortgage applicants.
Yeah, the whole point of that was the affirmative action for housing, that everyone deserves a house. Everyone, as a right, more or less, has the right to have a house. And that was the principle or philosophy within the Clinton administration. But like you said, you bring the standards down, you put people into homes that they can't afford, you subsidize it with Fannie and Freddie. Next thing you know, there's no incentive to actually pay the loans back. They buy up cheaper loans, and then guess who fits the bill? The taxpayer. And eventually that bubble bursts, and where you have it. That's what essentially got Obama into office, because the housing bubble exploded right at the time when McCain and Sarah Palin were doing their thing early on. But when that happened, everything was off the table. Because prior to that, if you remember, it was about energy. It was about energy costs and everything, which is why McCain pulled Sarah Palin into his campaign, because she was a governor of an energy-rich state, Alaska, and they thought that would add to the ticket and allow that particular counterbalance be there for a person who's a rebel within her own party, where she's able to come after her own party in many ways and become that rebel, and also have this this dinosaur McCain in office and have that ticket be balanced. But the energy aspect of it was a huge issue, which is why they also added her to the ticket as well. But when the housing bubble burst, thanks to Clinton, here you have it. And that's what essentially paved the way for Obama to get in. But personally, I think ultimately he probably would have won anyway, just from sheer charisma. But what he's saying here about Bill Clinton having the brass to bring that up when he was actually responsible for it, that's just the way the guy is.
Barney Frank, the ranking Democrat on the House committee that oversaw Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, said, quote, I'm willing to roll the dice
Yes.
on Freddie and Fannie, meaning
he'd be willing to take the chance that the standards were being brought down too low. More than that, Attorney General Janet Reno under Clinton threatened lenders with legal action from the Justice Department if their numbers, in terms of groups and income levels of people who were approved, didn't fit her preconceptions. HUD under Clinton made lawsuits against lenders, charging them with racial discrimination based solely upon statistics.
So Tom, give me for the layman a 3-sentence summary, a soundbite kind of summary of what caused the mess we're in. It was not a failure of the market. It was a failure of
the government forcing people to lower the lending standards that had existed for years. And they said, well, the problem was blamed on greed. You don't satisfy greed by lending to people who can't pay you back.
All right. You insist once again that if we base this election on the facts, the Obama administration would be, quote, doomed. But listen to President Obama himself, last clip from the Democratic National Convention.
If you believe that new plants and factories can dot our landscape, that new energy can power our future, that new schools can provide ladders of opportunity to this nation of dreamers, if you believe in a country where everyone gets a fair shot and everyone does their fair share, and everyone plays by the same rules, then I need you to vote this November.
All right, new plants and factories, new energy, new schools, and a fair shot. What's wrong with that?
I wonder if the fair shot includes the taxpayers. But we've had factories before there was Barack Obama. Hard as that is to believe, and we've had less of it since he came in.
Okay, Tom. So let me ask this question, which is politically incorrect, which makes it all the more important to ask. Some component of the voting public voted for him last time around as an act of national expiation because they felt, and I frankly, I could feel it myself. We were all proud, even those of us who supported the opponent, we all felt proud the following day that the United States of America, the Constitution takes slavery into account, the Civil War, but finally we have a black man as president of the United States. All right, that's perfectly understandable. We know that took place. 4 years later, what about the argument that it is so important for him to get this right, so important as a continuation of this national act of expiation and healing and so forth, that in some way it's only right to give him, frankly, more slack than you might.
Affirmative action for president.
Well, there you go. I suppose that's what it amounts to. I guess you don't buy that one.
Well, when you realize that the President of the United States has the lives of 300 million people in his hands, he has the future of Western civilization in his hands. He has the freedom that has been inherited over the centuries in his hands, and he's already starting to dismantle that. I really don't think it's a question of any individual, whoever's in the White House, being cut any slack. The last thing you need to do is cut slack to people who have power over 300 million other people.
All right, so there's Thomas Sowell talking about these three people here and how they are full of it. And on this channel, we're all about destroying the woke narratives. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.